Hey guys, it's Kelly and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to be focusing all about teen drivers. We're going to talk about the statistics behind their driving, some tips on how to get them ready to go behind the wheel, and we're also going to talk about the new list that came out from IIHS and Consumer Reports on their list of recommended cars for teens. And spoiler alert, the list is super comprehensive and I'm actually pretty impressed by it. If this is your first time joining me, I'm Kelly and I'm the Car Mom. I review cars for moms and for families. I'm a mom of 3 and I'm a certified child passenger safety tech. I am not a mom of teens. However, I am very well researched in this topic of teen driving, so I want to start by sharing some statistics about teen drivers, and then we're going to move into why teens get in so many accidents, how we can maybe prevent some of those accidents, and then we're going to end by talking about this recommended list from the IIHS and Consumer Reports and kind of get my take on the vehicles they selected. Okay, starting off, let's talk about some stats around teen drivers. So, teen drivers can be pretty stressful. They are inexperienced drivers, and those first few months of them getting their license, they are the most likely to get in an accident, whether that be a minor fender bender or something more serious. I'm going to read a statistic from the IIHS website. Teen drivers have crash rates nearly 4 times those of drivers 20 and older per mile. All right, so let's talk about why they get into so many accidents. And this, broken down by IIHS, specifically is talking about the characteristics of a fatal crash. And I know this conversation can be scary and maybe triggering, so I'm going to put a trigger warning on it, but I'm really just trying to bring this information to help families make the most informed and empowered decision when it comes to their teens, just like I do when it comes to their car seats. Okay, and by the way, this is not sponsored by IIHS or Consumer Reports. I'm just genuinely big fans of both of their content, and when I saw this thing, I knew I wanted to talk about it. Okay, so first off, characteristics of a teen fatal crash include driver error. Compared with adult fatal crashes, those of teens are more often involved in driver error. So, no secret there, a lot of the times the teens get into an accident because they messed up on something. Speeding. Speeding is a big one. Excessive speed is a factor that's in just over a quarter of teens' fatal crashes. So we're talking about 25% of fatal crashes being surrounded by the problem of speeding. That seems like a super easy thing to fix, to teach, and to express the importance of why we do not want to be going too fast in a vehicle. Next, I found this very interesting. Single vehicle crashes. It says many fatal crashes involve only the teen's vehicle. Typically, these are high-speed crashes in which the teen driver loses control. Single vehicle crashes more often than not because they're either speeding, losing control, or just simply not paying attention to their surroundings and getting in an accident on their own. This statistic also is pretty shocking. It's about passengers. It says just over half of teen passenger deaths occur in crashes with teen drivers. Studies have shown that the presence of passengers increases crash risk among teenage drivers. However, it decreases a crash risk among drivers 30 and older. And as a parent, I would definitely consider putting some strict guidelines around what that passenger looks like. You know, how many passengers can they have? When can they have passengers? Who are those passengers? Because the statistics show they are more likely to get in a collision with passengers in their car. Finally, night driving. So this is crazy. It says per mile driven, the fatal crash rate of 16 to 19-year-olds is 4 times as high at night than it is during the day. One thing that I see happen a lot is just simply not practicing night driving enough. We have to make sure that we are getting our teens behind the wheel in all conditions at all times of day. So that's not just like when it's sunny and 75. That's at night, that's in the rain, that's in the snow, that's in traffic, on an open highway. Really, it's important to make sure you're exposing your teen to all these different types of driving conditions so that they can be more prepared when they get their license and they're out on their own. All right, so now let's get into the list of recommended cars from Consumer Reports and IIHS. First of all, I'm loving this collab. I mean, they could have added the Car Mom as an additional resource, but it's fine. We're going to talk about the cars on the list, but first I want to talk about how they've broken it up. So like I said, they did both new and used vehicles, which I love that they did that just because with a teen car, the budgets just vary so much. So they go down from good choice vehicles that start at $6,600 all the way up to brand new vehicles. And they also have it divided into best choices and good choices, which I think is also helpful. For the used vehicles, for the best choice and the good choice of used vehicles, both groups have a couple of different things. They both have standard electronic stability control. ESC is what it's called, and this is absolutely crucial for any teen, really any vehicle being driven. It became standard after 2012, but if you're looking at a significantly older vehicle for your teen, I would highly suggest making sure it has ESC. It just makes sure that when the vehicle, goes under any stress or slams on the brakes, it stops it from like skidding out, and it just makes it a way safer vehicle in the event of something bad happening. They also, both of these used vehicle groups, have above average reliability from Consumer Reports. They both have average or better scores from Consumer Reports handling tests. They both have dry braking distances of less than 145 feet. Again, thinking about preventing the accidents before they happen, how quickly a vehicle can stop is super important, so I like that they included that into their list. They have good ratings in 4 IIHS crash-worthy tests. So the 4 the 4 tests that have the good ratings would be the original, moderate overlap, original side, roof strength, and head restraints. And then finally, they have 4 or 5 stars from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA. So in addition to all of that, to be considered a best choice, they had to have a good or acceptable rating in their driver's side small overlap front test. So that test launched in 2012. It basically replicates what happens if the front left corner of a vehicle collides with another vehicle or a pole or a tree or something like that. So for new vehicles, they wanted to make sure, this is kind of like what went into their recommendations. The new vehicles, first of all, have a range from 23,000 to 39,000. They have average or better predicted reliability. They meet all the same criteria for the emergency handling that they did for the used vehicles. And then they also wanted to make sure that they received a good rating or better from Consumer Reports for their ease of use with their controls, what I thought was actually a really smart thing to add, because driver distractedness for any age category, but especially for teens, definitely can play a role into preventing accidents. So I like that they included how easy and how intuitive like the vehicle's infotainment system, audio, and climate controls were as well. And I thought another interesting point that they made in this article was when you're looking at like the new vehicle list especially, they also recommended that this could be a good resource for anyone looking for a safe, good, affordable, reliable car. But especially like if you're looking for a vehicle to be passed down to a teen, this could also be a good way to start. So like, let's say you're looking for a second car or a smaller vehicle for like just your regular family, buying one of these new cars for like maybe you, the parent, the dad, or the mom, with the intention to pass it down to the teen after a couple of years. All right, so now let's dive into the list. Let's start with best choices for used cars. Mazda 3 sedan or hatchback. They even get so specific to say like it had to be built after October in 2013. So these model years, 2004 to 2020. We also have the Ford C-Max Hybrid and the Toyota Prius. So I loved seeing 2 very fuel efficient options on this list as well. And then we have the Subaru Impreza sedan or wagon with only 2 years selected, again, which is interesting. And probably a lot of that has to do with not as good reliability ratings from Consumer Reports. Okay, moving to mid-size cars, we have Subaru Legacy, Mazda CX-6, Subaru Outback, Toyota Prius, Volkswagen Passat, and BMW 3 Series. In large cars, Toyota Avalon and Hyundai Genesis. Small SUVs, really a lot of Mazdas on this list. Volvo, Mazda, Honda CR-V, Honda HR-V, Kia Niro, Subaru Forester. Midsize, we've got the Murano, the Hyundai Santa Fe Sport, the Highlander, the RDX, and they even included a minivan, just in case. Maybe like, again, if you're looking for maybe a car to pass down to your teen. Why not? And then they even give a pickup truck option, so that would be the Toyota Tacoma. So if I'm looking at this list, which one's my favorite, or which one I like the best? I think the Hyundai Santa Fe Sport is an incredible car. I love the Hyundai Santa Fe. I love how they drive. I love their technology. So I really like that. I like the Subaru Forester. I like the Mazda CX-5. I mean, all these cars are fine, but if I had to like pick a top 3 list, I think those would be the ones I would pick. I mean, it's a good list. I think the good news about this is since there's so many options, go after the deal, right? Like all of these cars, are safe, they're reliable, they're affordable. So instead of worrying about, which one you like the looks of the best, go after the deal, get the nicest, newest, low mileage, best price car you can find that's on this list. All right, now let's move into good choices. So remember that these still had everything I mentioned in that original list, they just don't have that additional one IIHS test. So still good options. And we're gonna find, I think, some more affordable options on this list too. Like here we have it, the Kia Soul, again, only specific model years, average price $6,600. I love the Kia Soul. Kia Soul is a darling car. Toyota Corolla, Chevy Volt, Honda Civic, Toyota Prius, mid-size cars, Ford Fusion, Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, small SUVs, Tucson Rogue, CR-V, RAV4, mid-size SUVs, RDX, and Highlander. So on here, you know, I really do love the Kia Soul, and for this being one of the most affordable ones, I loved seeing that it passed so many of that criteria. Again, just making sure you're paying attention to that model year specifically. Ford Fusion is a great sedan. Toyota Avalon's also a really good car. Nissan Rogue. I mean, there's really so many good options on here. So I'm super excited to dive into the new vehicle list. So starting off, they are all winners of the 2023 IIHS Top Safety Pick or Top Safety Pick Plus. This is a list that IIHS puts out every single year, and let me tell you, they are thorough. It is hard for a vehicle to get on this list, so I'm already impressed. Small car, Mazda 3. This Mazda. Maybe I need to be touring some of these vehicles. I've never even been in a Mazda 3 before. Mid-size cars, Legacy and Outback. Small SUVs, you can see a lot of the same cars mentioned on the used vehicles, just obviously new. Mid-size SUVs, they have the Ascent, the Palisade, the Highlander, the CX-9, and the NX, and then minivan, they have the Odyssey. On this list, you know, I like the Mazda CX-5. I think it's a good bang for your buck. So I like the CX-5, I like the Subaru Forester. I mean, I love the Palisade. I feel like some of these cars are really good options for maybe moms who have older kids who maybe like want to drive something now and then pass that car down. I mean, once you're out of car seats, like I do consultations all the time for moms who have a 12-year-old who think, wow, in 4 years, they're gonna be driving. So I'll get a car, I'll drive it for 4 years, and then I'll pass it down to them. All right, so those were the lists from IIHS and Consumer Reports. We're gonna leave a link to this article in the description box below. But before we go, I just wanna talk about maybe a few more things that you can do to really empower your teen before they hit the road by themselves. And I think one of those things is really making sure they understand basic vehicle maintenance and what to do in the event of an accident. So starting off, vehicle maintenance, I love the idea of making like a little cheat sheet for your teen about what the different lights on the dash mean, so they know what to look out for, what's something as simple as like a low tire pressure light, and what's something that's more pressing like a check engine light. I know that sounds silly, but if no one ever teaches you, you're never gonna learn. So make sure you and your teen have a clear idea of what some warning signs in the vehicle would be, and then make sure you teach them the basic maintenance, like changing your washer fluid, filling up your tires, pumping gas. I know that sounds crazy, but you have no idea how many times I've heard of a teen putting diesel in a gas car before because no one taught them. So make sure you teach them that super basic, everyday car care maintenance. Also, teach them to have some pride in their vehicle. I mean, you know, I always say clean cars drive better. So maybe investing in like a car wash subscription for your teen, a portable vacuum, and really making sure that like you set guidelines on what your expectations are for how that vehicle is maintained and cared for. And then finally, I think it's also super important to make sure you prep your teen for what happens when you get pulled over or if you get in an accident. What are the steps that need to be taken? So things like making sure you know where your insurance card is, making sure you contact the police to file a police report, make sure you take pictures of both your vehicle and the other vehicle, and just really talking through like those real world scenarios, maybe even doing some role playing so they don't totally freak out when one of those things happens. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today's video. Let me know what you thought of the IIHS and Consumer Reports list, and I'll see you next time.